Let's take a look at rules for talking about quantities in Arabic. While the number system itself is pretty straightforward, there are a lot of rules regarding how the numbers should agree with the nouns they are quantifying. This video will look at the cardinal numbers, which measure the cardinality, or size of things. They differ from ordinal numbers, which are used to talk about the order or place of something in relation to other things. When you are referring to specific quantities of something and you use numbers, you'll need to follow the rules of agreement. Numbers 1 through 10 have masculine and feminine forms because your numbers must agree or disagree with your noun depending on the number you're using. Numbers are read from left to right, just like in English. And when you're counting or naming numbers, you'll use the feminine form, which is why the feminine column is highlighted here. The number 1 must agree with the noun in gender, and the dual is gender neutral, which we'll get to eventually. But to keep things simple, we're referring to the dual as agreeing for the time being. However, numbers 3 through 10 have reverse gender agreement, or disagreement. Are you feeling overwhelmed? That's completely normal. We will look at a chart that classifies all of this later, and this chart and all the others included in this video have been converted into a PDF for quick reference. When you refer to one of something, you say the item, then the number 1. Bint wahida. One girl, because one functions like an adjective in this case. Bint is a feminine noun, so you use wahida. Walid is a masculine noun, so it's walid wahid. Bint wahida, walid wahid. The dual technically functions the same way, with the number following the noun. But instead of saying two, ithnan, afterwards, you're using the dual ending, ain, bintain. There is not a gendered ending on the dual. The dual will change depending on the word's place in the sentence, but that's a whole other video. Just know that the an or ain endings can be used for the dual, but you'll see the ain most often. With any numbers 3 or higher, you say the number and then the noun. This actually makes an idafa, but you don't need to worry about using the al or the kesra tanween for the second word now, as it's not as common in the spoken dialects like Shami, but you can if you want to. And this video will use both just to get you familiar with the concept. You do need to remember that numbers 3 through 10 use the plural form of the noun, thalatha iwalad. Did you notice how the gender for the number is reversed or disagrees with the noun? That's what happens with numbers 3 through 10. Thalatha iwalad, or thalath banat. Let's look at quantifying objects. As you will soon learn, groups of objects are treated a bit differently when it comes to agreement with adjectives and numbers. If you want to talk about 3 books, your numbers must have a reverse gender agreement with the singular form of the noun, even though with numbers 3 through 10, you're using the plural form of the noun. So you need the latha katub. Here, books, katub, is treated as a singular masculine noun. That's why you have the feminine form of 3, the latha. Remember, we're now using reverse agreement, the latha katub. However, note that your textbook tells you that the tar marbuta is often dropped, so you might hear thalath katub when someone is trying to talk about 3 books. Numbers 11 and higher switch back to the singular form of the word, such as in the 13 dogs, thalatha asher al-kalb. And with anything higher than 3, you say the number and then the noun. Numbers 11 and 12 agree in gender, while multi-part numbers, such as thalatha asher, 13, have the first part of the number have reverse agreement and the second part have agreement. And remember, this is from the singular form of the word. Let's look at the 13 dogs. ثلاثة عشر الكلب. Here you have the singular form of a masculine word. So you want the masculine form of the number 13, ثلاثة عشر. This has the ثلاثة disagree in gender and the عشر agree. ثلاثة عشر الكلب. When making numbers higher than 20, you say the small number first, and then the big number. So 25 is Hamza wa Ishrin. Like the dual, the endings of these numbers will change based on the position in the sentence, but Shami primarily uses the een ending, so let's stick with that one for now. And remember, with numbers higher than 11, you use the singular form of the noun. Here you have 25 Utes. Hamza wa Ishrin Utes. They are a masculine noun, so you use the masculine form of the number, the first part of which is feminine. As promised, here is a chart that lays it all out. 1 and 2 agree in gender, while 1 uses the singular form of the noun and 2 uses the dual. With these, the noun precedes the number, like an adjective follows a noun. Numbers 3 through 10 are reverse gender, or disagree in gender, and they use the plural form. Anything higher than 3, and the number comes before the noun, making an idafa, and the singular form of the noun is used for numbers 11 and higher. Numbers 11 and 12 have gendered forms that agree with the noun, and other two-part numbers have the first part, the smaller number, reverse gender, and the second part, the big number, agree. Sahih? Practice quantifying things to ensure you get the hang of it. One last thing. When you're asking how many of something there are, using kim, use the singular form of the word. This is different than what we do in English, where we use the plural. We would say, how many rooms in your house, with rooms being plural. In Arabic, you would say, how many room in your house. Kim ghurfa fi beitik. How many students in the class? Kim talib fi al-ghurfa. How many brothers do you have? Kim ukht عندك. So, now you know all there is to know about making numbers 1 through 99.